we are going to talk about Julia Enright and the TreeHouse murder.
All right.
This story is filled with sex, BDSM, animal bones.
Animal bones.
Blood. I think she
doesn't-
was a vampire or something. And just craziness. Like, it's just wild. When I heard it, I was like, what? This is so weird. It's so weird.
Sounds weird. I'm curious.
All right. So, let me tell you who Julia Enright is. She's 25 right now, and she is currently in prison for life. But we're going to go back to 2018 when she was 21 years old and had a job as a phlebotomist.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't know, phlebotomist is someone who draws your blood at like a lab. Like when you go to the doctor and they, order blood work, you go to a phlebotomist to get it taken out of you. So this is in Ashburnham, Massachusetts. So that's her day job, okay? She's a phlebotomist. She looks a little edgy. So after I saw a picture of her and then I heard what her night job was, I was like, oh, that makes sense. She was a dominatrix.
Oh.
Okay. She went by Mistress Jasmine. And in court, in trial for this case, they showed her business cards. And it's her in a wig and little handcuff clip art on it.
All right.
And it says, okay, this is what it says on it. Come to crave what it feels like to give me all control. That is so horrible. I hate that sentence. Come to crave?
Yeah.
What? That doesn't sound sexy.
What year was this?
This is 2018.
What?
Come to crave what it feels like to give me all control.
All right.
I don't know who gave you advice on that sentence, but it's not good. But, okay, so that's not all she was. She's a dominatrix, okay? She's a phlebotomist, but also she's an artist who makes art out of animal bones. So.
Animal bones.
Yes. So I don't know all the ways she would trap the animals. I kind of tried to find information on that and couldn't.
Oh, wait. She didn't buy the bones? She went and got her own animals?
Okay, yes. She would find carcasses, roadkill. She would take animals and speed up the decomposition. So I'm assuming she was killing animals too. I'm pretty sure she was killing them and trapping them. And then she would speed up decomp by wrapping them in tarps.
Yeah, making it. Yeah.
Yeah. Making a swampy mess in there. Okay.
Yeah.
So then she would take the bones and she would clean them. She would keep wet specimens, which were the decomposing body in a jar, basically, is what she would have. Yeah. She took videos and pictures of her dissecting them. I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay?
Yeah, that's nasty.
It's nasty. It's
I would
just
be
weird.
curious to know how successful that was, just because it's so gross. How many people want roadkill in a jar? What?
I don't know. Maybe if you went out in the desert and found a cow skull, that would be really cool. An old, withered away one. That could be cool art, do carvings in it. I've seen stuff like that. But going and catching raccoons and whatever and decomping them.
Strange.
It's just
very
really
strange.
weird. It's really odd.
Yeah, if I went on a first date with a girl and then we went to her house and there was an animal in a jar or bones or a smelly tarp or something like that, I would literally run. I would for real run. And
Yeah,
I'm not joking.
This is Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes.
Except she wasn't doing taxidermy. Was
Dahmer the nipple belt, or was that?
I don't think so, but I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he did taxidermy. She's not doing that. I mean, he did also experiment with, like, chemicals and making it, like, decomp or disintegrate animals, I think, too. But she's, like, doing such...
It was Ed Gein. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that sounds familiar. Because he's the one that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based off of. Yeah. So, okay, that's who she is. Let's talk about the victim in this situation. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. His name was Brandon Chickless.
Okay.
Okay. He was 20 years old, born July 24th, 1997, also from Massachusetts. And he was described as, like, kind, thoughtful, quirky, had a goofy laugh. He worked for an HVAC company locally and really loved it and wanted to own his own business one day. And he was a Boy Scout for 10 years and earned the rank of Life Scout and Troop 41 in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. Wow.
I don't know what Life Scout is. I thought Eagle Scout was, like,
I don't know,
the highest.
I was just like, wow, that's crazy. I've never heard of somebody being, like, a lifetime Boy Scout. But it sounds like he was just, like, a really good kid. Like, he was about to turn 21 when this happened. And it just sounded like he was just, like, starting to really live life. Like,
Does he end up doing, like, really bad things, though? Because I don't think, like, being interested in being dominated or any kink or fetish has anything to do with, like...
He didn't do anything.
Boy Scout or anything. Okay.
He didn't do anything bad.
Because that's completely normal.
No, I think he was just a submissive.
Yeah.
I think that's it. And she was just, like, gonna be a serial killer if she didn't get caught, to be honest, is where I think this is going. Because it sounds like he was just, like, a really quirky, good guy.
Yeah.
That's it.
I hope that wasn't his first dom he found.
All right. Well, I think it was, because he graduated from Montachusett Regional Vocational Technical School. That's a mouthful. In 2015, and that's where he met her. Was when they were going to school there, and they rode the bus together. They dated for a little bit, and they used to meet up in the TreeHouse, which was actually her neighbor's treehouse. It wasn't even on her property, her dad's property. And they used to have sex in there. And then they broke up, but they stayed friends, apparently. And then in 2018, Enright, so Julia Enright, starts dating a guy named Jonathan Lind. Okay. And Brandon finds another girl that he's dating. So they're both in separate relationships, but it sounds like... I don't know. It sounds like it's kind of confusing because his family claims that she kept trying to get a hold of him to have sex with him, and he, like, just on this particular day gave in finally. But on her side, she's saying, and lots of people are saying that he really wanted to meet up with her, and she blew him off for, like, months, and then randomly was like, hey, let's hang out all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So... I'm not really sure what the truth is, to be 100% honest.
If
because
he's sub, he probably has, like, an urge he wants to get scratched, so he probably would go after her because I'm assuming that they weren't just having normal sex, they were doing, like...
kinky stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I assume. I assume that they were friends and maybe talked, and then... It sounds like him and his girl started having problems because she stepped out or something. She started talking to an ex, and I heard someone theorize that maybe he was, like, looking to get back at her by going and hooking up with his ex. to make her jealous, because when they found him, he was wearing like some kind of jewelry or something that she gave to him, even when he was there to hook up with her. So,
or he's just super submissive.
Or he's submissive and wants to hide it.
Because he was dating her, and she went and had other guys and did her thing, and then he was just there to submit or whatever, like, you know?
Yeah, I feel like people who don't really... Some people are submissive and they want to have, like, a normal life, and then, like, secretly get dominated by a random dominatrix, you know, that isn't a part of their personal life. So, it could just be and it could be just he was totally just craving it. Like, they used to do that kind of stuff. He's having problems in his relationship, and he's like, I just want to go experience that again. Yeah. You know?
There's a million different options.
There really are. And she talks about him like he's just so pathetic, almost, to the cops.
So that adds to what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he could just be a super sub guy and not with the right girl, and that's why his other girl went out on him too.
Okay, so maybe. And she described their relationship as Kismesis. She said it's so therapeutic for me, and it's like Kismesis or something like that. Because there were a ton of journals of hers, and she had like an online journal, and she had some written stuff that the cops went through, and in one of those she says this word, and I was like, what does that even mean? It's the kind of hate that involves wanting to bone that person, is what this says. Like, it's like they're your arch rivalry to the point that you are like so attracted to them.
Yeah, so she liked dominating him. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, that's what this comes down to. Like, she was legit, not just like a dominatrix professionally, but in her personal life too. Like, she actually really loved doing this. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, they're dating or whatever.
Sounds like they had actual feelings for each other, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
She's just a sociopath, so it didn't turn out in a healthy way, you know? Yeah,
that's what it seems like. So, what happens is on June 24th, he's missing, okay? From his family's perspective. He said he was going to visit a relative's house. I think it might have been like his father or something like that, grandfather. He didn't show up, and that is supposedly to his family totally out of character, makes no sense. When he says he's going somewhere, he always shows up there. He's not late. Like, he does what he says he does.
Yep.
So, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, his birthday, I'm pretty sure, is just, what day did I say he was born again? July? Okay, so next month is his birthday, and he's like in really good spirits, you know, like he's really excited, so it just didn't make sense to them. 1 week later, his car was found abandoned in a supermarket.
Okay.
Then a week after that, a hiker hiking up a highway in Wrench... Was that, like, super loud? No. Anyway, there was a crazy car outside. Okay, so a hiker walks up on his body dumped off of a highway in New Hampshire, which is just across the state lines of Massachusetts. And it's... Listen to this. This is crazy how... Oh my gosh. So his body was stabbed like a dozen times. His remains wrapped in a blanket, then a tarp, then a sheet, then stuffed in 2 garbage bags, and then duct taped to speed up decomp. Like, that's what she does all the time to animals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was like a big clue, you know? And so he was basically a skeleton at that point, even though it was only 2 weeks after he went missing because of what she did. There wasn't much left.
Yeah.
And they saw that there were 12 wounds to his shirt. Like, he was still wearing his shirt, and there were, like, 12 slits in it. And that's how they figured out he had been stabbed. I also
She should
heard...
have cut that shirt off. Jeez.
Right? I also heard something about them thinking he had some kind of carvings in his skin. Like, there wasn't much... like scar tissue
Sure, go off of.
Soft.
Yep.
I'm trying to say soft tissue.
Yep.
There wasn't much skin or anything to go off of, but I did hear somebody talking about in an article that they thought maybe she did some bloodletting on him.
Okay.
Okay. So then let's go back to what happened, because phone records led the police right to her. They checked his phone records and they saw that he was at her property. So they go there to say, hey, we just found this kid's body. Phone records show he was here.
Yeah.
And because initially she lied. She said, I have no idea. I never saw him. So then they go there, they get a search warrant, and she changes her story. She says, oh, well, he was here, but then he left to go get Coke. And I never heard from him again. Now, when the police...
That's shady. I hear that right away. I'm like, you're just adding drugs in there because drugs are shady.
Yep. Obvious. Super obvious. And who knows, maybe he liked to do coke when he got dominated.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But then you would have said it in the beginning.
Right.
Like...
Yeah.
The only way you wouldn't is if you had drugs on you and you didn't want them to search you because you felt like there'd be connection, which they don't do, so there is no reason.
She's just being super obvious.
Yeah.
So the cops get the search warrant and they go in her house, and what they find is absolutely shocking to them because there's buckets of animal bones. There's like beakers with animal hearts in it. In her wet specimens, as she called them, which was rotting animals in jars, and a crap load of used condoms. Which goes with the whole dominatrix theme. Like, yeah. I know that, like, with all the other stuff included, that sounds really nasty, but... people are into stuff like that, like saving
I wouldn't
that kind of stuff.
I wouldn't go into it on a video we're gonna post like on YouTube, but
no.
It's super common. That is super common. Like, so if you're a non-kinky person, you might hear that and be like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
But I hear that with understanding of that stuff and think that's the most normal. So
it is the most normal thing they found, in my opinion, since she's a dominatrix.
Yeah.
Okay. But they also found vials of blood, like a lot of them, and they were labeled with different names.
Okay.
So, like, she took blood from friends and stuff.
Yeah. So she was into, got it.
So she had an obsession with blood.
Okay.
Now, come to find out, on June 22nd, this is the night before he went missing, she was texting him and said, hey, let's, we haven't seen each other in forever. Let's meet up for a drink, like, let's go out in the old TreeHouse. And he's like super excited and is like, yeah. And she's like, but it has to be a secret. And at the same time, she's texting her boyfriend, do you think we can add bubbles to a bloodbath? Awkward silence.
Bubbles to a blood bath.
Yeah.
This
is horrific. Like, honestly, it really hurts my heart because I know submissive men, and, like, if he's the kind of person I get the vibe that he is, he's just really sweet.
Yeah.
Really docile and submissive and doesn't want to hurt a fly, and she took full advantage of him.
Yep, like a sociopath.
Like a straight up sociopath.
And if you're if you're
It's
a vanilla person
disgusting.
and not into stuff like this, like, this is not how 99% of the kink or BDSM or fetish people, industry are. It's very rare.
This is a sociopath, a psychopath
Yep.
that just happened to be into this.
Yep.
Okay? Most BDSM people value consent and bodily autonomy above all.
Mm-hmm.
They respect human life.
Yep.
That's why BDSM exists. Because if people wanted to go around and legit abuse each other, they would just go be an assaulter.
Yep.
They wouldn't feel the need to get consent.
Yeah.
Okay? So, the BDSM stuff isn't, like, it adds to it, the story, but that's not the reason for
You
any
could
of
remove
this.
all the BDSM stuff, and this is still like, what are you doing?
Absolutely.
You creep.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
So, cops also saw that the day before, she went to like a Home Depot and bought a tarp and hooks and rope and chains, and apparently she fitted them to the treehouse. She laid down a tarp, a sheet, put hooks on the walls, and
So this
tied
sounds
him up.
premeditated then.
Absolutely.
I mean, those things can be in there for a
Fun.
non-murderous reason, but laying down a tarp and a sheet and stuff?
Which you could do, like people use rubber sheets and stuff, but a tarp, which is what she uses on her animals to cause decomp, like, so she could give that excuse to him and him not know and be thinking, oh, this is like waterproof, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a cheaper way of having, like, a tarp. It's
Yeah.
a tree house, you know, like that might
Yeah.
not be alarming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she also asked him to meet her on the bridge nearby to avoid her father seeing. And then she lures him to the treehouse and apparently stabs him a dozen times after doing some things to him, which she hasn't admitted to what that was. Like, we don't know. But apparently it was horrible because there was a lot of blood in that treehouse.
Gosh.
Even with a tarp laid down, it was still seeped under the floorboards, and there was still splatters all over the place. It's just really sad, and I feel super bad for his family. Like, the nature he was killed in is just so sad.
Yeah, it is.
And his mom said, well, you know, now that he's like, this happened, I have to wake up every day and think, when on my way to work, am I going to drive by where she ditched his car or drive by where she ditched his body? Because that's like the only two ways she has to go.
Yeah, that's really sad.
It is. So, anyway, she pled not guilty. And then she went to trial for this last year in 2022. And the defense and her came into court with a whole different story of what happened. Like, so the prosecutor's
Sure.
presenting the story I'm telling you now. She came in there and said, well, yeah, I met up with him, but when we were in the treehouse, I changed my mind that I didn't want to sleep with him, and he attacked me and tried to sexually assault me. So I had like this. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention. She had a huge knife collection in her house. That's another thing they found.
Okay.
She said, well, I had a knife on my belt, so I took it off and I stabbed him. And they're like, well, what? You know, like, this is a whole new story. And she said she didn't realize it was 12 times. And then her and her boyfriend got scared, so they hid the body. After all of this, do you know what they did that night after they hid his body? She cleaned up and they went out to sushi.
Gosh.
I don't know if they ever had that bloodbath, but it kind of sounds like from her diary that they didn't, because her boyfriend didn't seem to be very happy about what happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so in her little diary, she writes something like,
I mean, if I was him and I wasn't involved in it to where you're a sociopath couple, dude, I would not be with that person anymore. I'd be like, I can't trust this.
So I think he was into the whole domination, BDSM, blood, because I totally have seen people that are super into blood play, not like this.
Yep.
She had an obsession. She literally became bloodthirsty, and wrote in her diary that she was so curious about what it was like to kill somebody. Like, there's tons of warning signs here if you go into like some articles and read what was actually in her diaries. And she told the police, and when they were interrogating her and in court, that it was just creative writing.
Yeah.
A way to make her feel empowered.
Creative.
So creative. I want to know what it feels like to kill somebody.
She must be able to see the future. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's more believable than creative writing. And
But yeah, so he helped her hide the body, and actually after she got sentenced and everything, they indicted him, and now he's awaiting trial. But yeah, in her diary, she says that it was a surprise for her boyfriend, but she felt like she just got a gift that was too extravagant for somebody because he didn't seem very happy with it. She also talks about how it turned her on, like doing what she did and lots of other things. And it's just, jeez,
that's just sociopathic behavior.
It is. Her diary,
that's serial killer.
Her diary is literally like a window into what it's like to be like a sociopath. I feel like. It just all sounds so selfish, very sexual, sadistic, like all about her. Like, she also talks about how she's in love with him, but don't let him make you weak. Like, don't give too much. Don't commit too much. Talking about her boyfriend. And that's where she talked about the Kismesis and stuff. Like, it's really weird.
Kismesis with the guy she killed, right?
With the guy she killed, yeah. That's what I read anyway. There's a lot of information on it. Like, I actually noticed that Telegram was the best website for this case that I could find, because they followed it from beginning to end, and you can just search her name and go through it from beginning to end. But the one thing I hate is, I don't know why this case must have not got that much media attention, because there's no timeline. Like, normally with big cases, you can find a timeline, something that really clearly lays it out. This, you cannot. You have to read through like 20 articles to like get an idea of what happened, because they repeat like the basic facts and then they go into like one unique detail. So it's like, to find each of these unique details, I have to go through all of these articles. And I'm like, ugh.
That's how it was with the animal abuse thing, is like, you have to read the same story 50 times, but in each story there are little things different. So you're like, what? What is it?
It's super annoying. I don't know why. Telegram did a really good job reporting on this, so I don't know why they didn't just come up with like a clear consensus of everything, like a timeline.
Yeah. A timeline is very helpful when you're trying to track some of these cases, the murder cases.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're dealing with like true sociopaths that do sociopathic behavior, like stalking or, diary, bloodletting, animal, weird stuff. That would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. But I think this speaks to, like, oh my gosh, I've just thought about letting go of control to somebody like that, and then something like that happening. You know what I mean? Like, submissives are put in such a like a predicament. That's why it's so important to do these things with somebody you really trust. And maybe he felt like he could because they knew each other from back in the day. And
sometimes there is no preventing it. This kind of sounds like a situation where it's not preventable because I guarantee you he trusted her.
But there's red flags, man. If I saw all that stuff, like, I would be like, this is weird.
Yeah, but not if you're him and you haven't seen each other for a long time. He wouldn't have seen these new red flags. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she already had that love-hate for him, so what a better choice to act out your sadistic, disgusting, murderous, crazy witch fantasies, you know?
It is kind of like a witch.
I know.
She is pretty much a witch.
Animal bones, bloodbaths, and murder.
Yeah, she had some weird
Welcome
stuff on
to Salem.
Social media stuff about like disemboweling people and saying she wished she could like live like a bear and just like kill people whenever she wanted. Like just really weird stuff. She feels almost like an emo kid that went psychotic.
Yeah. It sounds like a sadist that doesn't have control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
no control over your healthy desires. They're just unhealthy, animalistic, disgusting. Yeah, you should have went and lived in the woods by yourself like a bear.
Like a freaking witch. Yeah. Like the Hansel and Gretel witch.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, but it sounds like her boyfriend was into all the stuff, but when she actually went to for real kill somebody, it was like...
A lot of kink and fetish stuff is really hot when it's done healthy.
And fantasy, like some stuff can't be real life.
Yeah.
Some stuff has to remain a fantasy.
Well, there's a lot of things out there that are really extreme that you can act out, but you're pretending.
Right.
Like you had, like... I'm not going to go into it, but if you wanted to do some sort of pretend murder, whatever, then you're both just acting. You're role playing, and one of them's playing along. You know, like that's still real life, but not doing something illegal,
right?
Non-consensual. Like, come on, you know?
Yeah.
Nobody's dying here.
And someone that's so involved in the BDSM community, like, well, I don't know how involved she was in a community, but it sounds like she did have people around her and other people that she worked with.
That's so strange.
That is weird. Dude, that's what I thought. I feel like other dominatrixes would see red flags.
Yes, 100%, because I've found that dominatrix are like the leaders of consent. You know, it doesn't matter who they are or where they are. If they have actual experience, they're the first ones to be like, yo, that's not okay. You know, even if they're not directly involved in whatever's going on, because their job depends on it. Somebody not following consent is going to make it a bad situation for everybody. Plus somebody's getting hurt in that situation. So like, people have to step up, you know?
That's what I'm saying. She had to have shown warning signs, and they read her contract in court, and it talks about all the things she was willing to do and not do.
How bad for her, but
and it talks about
someone.
Dude, it talks about the state law, and mutually pleasurable acts are not what's being paid for.
Yeah.
You know, like she's being super specific.
But
I just thought it was funny because you're in a court with a bunch of law enforcement and a judge, and they're reading your contract.
But doming isn't illegal. There's conservatives out there that will try and make it seem like it is because it falls under the sex umbrella, but
it's not.
No, it's not, because one of the people is not showing anything. The other one is choosing to. And the dom is allowing to see that. Like, there is no sex acts going on, you know?
Well, some doms even get nude, but they're not having intercourse.
Most don't. But
most
some
don't,
do.
But some do.
Yeah.
And even that is not illegal because there's no penetration.
Yeah.
Like, they're not selling sex. They're, like, torturing you for money.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Consensually.
It's like therapy for a lot of people.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I'm just really sad that this had
There
to
was
happen.
a representation of the community like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, I mean...
That's a crazy one.
I thought it was just wild. I was like, I can't even believe this is a thing.
Is she hot?
Oh, you didn't get to see a picture of her. You guys will have saw pictures of her on the screen. Let me find it for you so you can see a picture of her. Here, I think this has a picture right on the front. Nope, that's the wrong
Biden.
one. President Biden.
Super hot.
No, she is not attractive. Uh-oh, I need to close out of this before it plays sound.
Like, not even in her...
Dude, why is nothing popping up with pictures?
Not even in her...
I feel like my computer's not
kink
working right.
outfit?
That's her right there.
Oh.
Here.
Okay.
She honestly looks like
Just a very white girl.
Very white girl, and she looks like she was probably like a nerdy kid growing up that went like dark or something. There should be pictures, yeah. So this is more what she looks like in a documentary she was in. This is like more recent her, I think, with the cut hair.
Sure.
But there's like her before she was arrested. She had like green hair and piercings and...
So strange. So strange. Because, yeah, even in those pictures, I don't get the read of, like, we need to be worried here. I don't get it from that.
I don't either,
which is strange because I've met people in my life where you can look at them and you pick up on it. Now that's in person, so maybe in person you feel a little bit different, but I just don't get that. But
no, I don't. When I looked at her too, I was like, she doesn't look like that.
Scrawny little white girl.
So scrawny.
Yeah.
But if you're a sub, it doesn't matter how big or small the dom is.
No, that doesn't matter at all.
It's all mental.
Yeah, that doesn't matter at all.
But that's him right there.
Okay. That's sad.
Super sad.
Mm-hmm.
And that's her boyfriend that's being indicted and going down with her.
Yeah. Well, he helped hide the body instead of
he
going
pled the fifth in her trial. He pled the fifth and was like not talking up on the stand.
He must be sub too.
Yep. Yep. And then she was like, yeah, he helped me hide the body. Straight up in court. And he's like, I plead the fifth. He's totally a sub too. 100%. Yep.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, condolences to his mother though, and
that's
his
a crappy
family.
situation.
It's a really sad and horrific situation. I can't imagine what his family went through and all of this, and I hope that they're all doing okay now and can wake up every day and the grief be a little more tolerable.
Yeah.
Because he just seemed like a really sweet guy, and he didn't deserve it. She's horrible.